Crypto Patriots. It's a tough morning, but we're going to get through it. Let's go. All right, it's 9 o'clock Eastern Time, Monday, September 30th. It's a tough day today, but I think we'll bounce back. All right, Crypto Patriots, good morning. This is Captain Crypto. I want to thank each of you for spending your time with us. We salute you for your interest in our channel and spending your most valuable asset with us, your time. We're here to serve you, changing lives one block at a time. Our goal is to help educate, and if it makes good sense to you, our mission is to solve for the time theft that is being taken from each of you. If you join our community, you'll understand that much more as you absorb more of our content. Our first community goal is to add 100 subscribers, after which we will evaluate more community interaction with other apps and sources so we can maintain our contact more real time beyond just publishing live streams and videos. So please, if you like what you're receiving and finding value, smash the like button and subscribe. Also, if you have anything you wish to add to our stream or you want to join in the community and participate, please get in touch with me via Twitter or leave a comment. We are looking for more crypto patriots. If you have not seen our masterclass playlist videos, please check them out to gain solid understanding of how to trade successfully and looking longer term on crypto and other assets. Most importantly, I've posted in the how-to playlist how to view YouTube videos on your television in high definition for anyone who is having blurry videos or lower definition settings. And if you are watching this stream on a computer or mobile device, there is a silver or gray cog, usually in the bottom right of the stream, where you can also adjust the settings, to whatever your format is, 1080p, 720, etc. Sometimes your stream might delay, so just move the time buttons forward or backward in case you get any delay or chop in the video. All right, well, let's get into the charts and the data today. It's going to be a pretty tough day, I think, for all the markets, and we'll go through those details right now. All right, well, just as a quick reminder, for those of you who have not yet subscribed, feel free to subscribe to our channel. We really are trying to get to 100 subscribers. All right, well, where are we at? You may remember when I started this month, I had said this is probably going to be a tough month. And I'm going to go back to the data that would indicate that based on historical data for crypto. So again, for those of you that have not seen this yet, what you're looking at is post-halving. So that would start right here in November of 2012, November 28th. And basically every single halving cycle, and they're approximately 4 years each, we get a bull market thus far. Again, history may not repeat, but to this point, that has held true after the halving. Usually a year or so after, we get a pretty big move in the crypto markets. And the last halving was May 11th of 2020. And, over 2020 and thus far into 21, not including September, we've had pretty nice gains. So going into September, as I had mentioned, it's a pretty tough month historically. So again, I'm not including this first halving because the halving was I am including it, but I'm not including September of that year. So I'm starting from here. And you can see, generally, we have a negative returning crypto market or Bitcoin market in the month of September. But in October, we typically have a pretty strong month. Now, history may repeat or it may not. I still think we may eke out a gain in September because something that was different in this bull market. We had a really weak May, and normally we have a pretty strong May. Even in the bull markets, we were up 10 and 60 in the prior two halving cycles. So that was different. And that was why I thought, well, maybe this year we'll have a positive September. And that still could happen. But just be aware that, history would say this is going to be a tough month. And thus far, that's basically what it's been. So if we transition here, let me just change my screen. Just give me a second. Close that and move it to there. All right. So where we are with Bitcoin, we've got a pretty bloody day. Now, when I started looking at the charts this morning, we were actually down here. And personally, I was like, that's probably not going to hold because, again, there was a lot of people that wanted to buy down here. You can see these wicks from the past, and it didn't stay there very long, and then it shot back up. So we're going to find out where we're at pretty quickly, I think. If we open the U.S. markets around 9:30, so in about 23 minutes, we're going to find out if there's additional pressure, meaning stock investors that are selling off, and then that spills further into the crypto markets. So we're going to find out pretty soon. But basically, just to go back for those of you that have not seen our videos, and again, I would highly encourage you to go back and watch most of the September videos, and you're going to see generally what I've said has held up. And so where I was last week, we had this triangle that I said we're going to either break out or break down. I did not take the trade because it's just too much risk not knowing which way a symmetrical triangle might break. And we were in the middle of these gaps here, this white go zone and this yellow horizontal no zone. And so, I just didn't want to play in this, what we call sideways chop. And I'm going to blast a few people because some of the people that you're listening to that claim to be experts and so on and so forth, not only did they take trades last week, but they took them on leverage. So, I don't get into leverage. I think it's stupid. And I think if you're following people that are pushing that idea to their viewers, you're just going to wreck yourself. And we've talked about it in the past. Again, go back and watch my videos. There's points where you can take on leverage. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it if you understand it and you can totally destroy yourself. But you have to know, I mean, if you're going to take leverage on a trade right here in the middle of a no zone, I mean, a gap, there's so much chop that can go one way or the other. And then this happens, I mean, you're crushed. If you're 10x or 20x, and again, some of those people, they're probably taking 1-2% of their net worth. But look at today. I mean, you got wrecked. There's no reason that you need to take on super leverage at a point in this part of the chop. I mean, yeah, maybe you're taking it today down here, but that's not, I don't know. I just get frustrated when I see other people pushing stupid stuff that can just destroy you. So watch my videos and you'll see how we enter and exit trades. But I don't see any reason that you should be taking leverage on a symmetrical triangle breakout that obviously has rolled over. So with that said, where we are now is we're getting into this lower level. So now we're starting to see some interesting areas because what did I say in my past videos? Patience. Patience is the hardest thing to train when you're trading. And so now if you were patient, Your opportunity came this morning when we got down to this horizontal level. And now I'm interested. Okay, so what am I looking for in if I'm looking to enter a Bitcoin trade or crypto like trade? Well, first of all, we need to hold this horizontal trend line. So let's go back into history for a minute. Just shrink that. You can see uh, this line would be our first. This would be what we'll call local. So this is more recent. And then right under it is that 42,000 line. So that's what I'm focused on. That goes all the way back to the January high of this year. So 9 months ago. It's amazing. We're basically touching around the January levels. So if you are thinking about entering a trade, the things that you're going to be looking for, number one, is we probably want to hold this 43,000 level. So again, when I turn on, my trading this morning, we were down here underneath that level. So now we've come back up. And again, at 9:30, we'll see if there's any additional sell-off pressure. We'll probably come back to this in, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. So first thing you're going to be looking for is, are we going to hold these lines? And how do we figure that part out? Well, we go back to RSI. RSI right now is in no man's land. It's at 50. Let me blow this up. So right now, it's a little under 50, but we're in the middle of this area from 30 to 70. So just as a reminder for those of you looking at RSI, RSI stands for Relative Strength Index. And it's basically a barometer of, are we in an oversold or an overbought condition? And right now I would say, and by the way, I use the RSI highs of each day. So in a bull market, I'm focused more on the high levels instead of just the maybe the open or the close, or some of you, depending on what you use. There's a standard one that I don't use in a bull market. So the one that defaults on TradingView, that's not the one that I use for bull markets. With that said, we're in this sideways chop. It would be nice if we could get down into an oversold condition. And again, if I go down onto like a 4-hour or a 2-hour, whatever, it probably is. I'm not even going to do it because again, I want to see confirmation when I'm ready to enter, and I'm not yet because this is all just in the middle of nowhere. You can see we were in an overbought condition for the last couple of weeks. And, it would just be nice if we could see a confirmation down here at oversold. So that is not confirming this drop yet. So again, some of my fellow brethren on YouTube, they're going to probably be like, oh, this is the best buying opportunity, blah, blah, blah. And it may be, but I'm not ready to enter until I can get an oversold metric on the RSI. And this goes back to what I was just saying about September. Well, there's 10 days or so left in September, and we may get this is what you call sweeping the lows. So we swept here. Again, this is a wick, and we bounced back, and we swept again, and we bounced back. And now, again, remember, there's like, I don't know, almost 12 hours left in today's trade, like 11 hours before the daily close. So we could very easily come back up to like right here around 45. I would say that would be where the majority of the trading has been. So it wouldn't surprise me if by the end of today, we're back up near 45. And again, we swept the lows. And here's your stink bid. You put it in underneath 43, based on the local area. And if, you got your stop probably down here at 42 and change, just in case things really get rocking and rolling. So I personally think, I drew a trend line here because we've had a few touches. So I personally think we're going to probably consolidate like that over the rest of the month. And then we're going to have to find out where we're at. Remember, it's the end of the quarter. A lot of people don't think about the quarterly changes. There's probably a lot of rebalancing going on within larger institutions. So there's a lot of just movement of assets. So again, if a fund manager that holds Bitcoin is way up over the quarter, like they got in a few weeks ago when everything was down in the 30s, and then a couple days back it was like 45. Well, that's a 50% move for a fund manager. They're probably like licking their chops and they're happy to have made 50% on trade, and they're out and they're just rebalancing their portfolio back down to maybe where they acquired at 30, and they're just taking their profit. And that's what the large institutions do. They're not interested in 5-10 years from now. They're interested in what did I make for my clients, or my money management system, whatever they're doing in a hedge fund or whatever. And that's all they're thinking about is, well, the quarter's about to print, my client's going to get a statement, let me go ahead and take profit so I look good. And that's basically how they operate. So if you look at where we're at, today was probably a good point to buy, but I'm not seeing confirmation yet on RSI, and I'm patient. I've been in Bitcoin way lower than where we are now. So as a position trader, this is not a confirming signal yet, but it's very delightful to see a price this low if you're looking to get into a position. I just would like to see a confirmation on RSI. And maybe over the next 10 days, we'll see that. We'll see Bitcoin continue to consolidate. Maybe people are selling off into this 43, 42 area, and the RSI continues to drop underneath somewhere around 30. That's where I would be looking to enter when RSI is at 30, not Bitcoin. So hopefully we'll hold this 42 to 43 level. Again, this diagonal resistance is now probably the area that you would be wanting to look for before you take a trade. So as a repair, again, if you're sweeping the lows, that's a good strategy of accumulation, is you just wait to sweep those lows and buy in. But the first thing you're going to want to see before we begin hopefully moving back up is we need to break this diagonal resistance. And it's probably going to take a few days to do that. I'd be really shocked if we just see a rocket back up above it. But now here's the good news. We came in, we've tested this diagonal. This is off the all-time high, this trend line. I'm not going to go back, but watch my prior videos and you'll see that. We touched it. So that's your first test. Came back down. And now this will be the next repair line. So if that was the first repair line of this line, well, we touched it also. Now we're going to come back down. We're going to go up. This was your first test of the original line. And so I would assume on the next hit we'll probably get above it, unless again, this is the beginning of a bear market where everything's going to tank and we're going to be in the next like 12 months of winter. So those are some of the ideas that I've got in my mind right now, and you can already see we're like moving back up to 45. We're already at almost 44. So again, the majority of the buying is going to be probably in here, and so this is a good sweep. So now know 43-ish is going to be an area where there's going to be like a vacuum, and it just sucks it right back up into, let's say, the mid 40s. So we'll find out. I'm not entering anything here, but I'm definitely going to be interested if you see a break of this diagonal. And we'll just have to let it play out. Patience, that's the key thing. I want to highlight this particular diagonal. This is probably the most important line that you need to keep your eye on. It's coming in today around 39, somewhere around 38, 39,000, depending on how you drew it. And if we break this line, I just want this to be recorded. That's a major problem. So the reason why is this line goes all the way back also to the all-time highs. And there's a lot of different touches, but once we broke that level, we broke out and we continued to move up pretty quickly over here. So the reason that this is super important is if we break that, then it sort of tells us that all the progress we made off of the all-time high and then some other touches along the way are now invalidated because we're back under there. So you definitely want to see us hold again today, and this is a moving line, so tomorrow it'll be a little lower. But I'll give you two thoughts on this. So if we consolidate here in this 42,000 range and we don't go lower, so again, this would be your next major line to keep an eye on. This is probably your mid-cycle best opportunity to buy back in, other than when we were down here at like 30,000 when Bitcoin, was like bottoming. So we're sort of in a situation where if we hold 42 to 43 and we start breaking back above this diagonal trend line and then we make our way up, and again, you can see the all-time high, that would be this line somewhere here in October. It's also declining. So like mid-October, we're already under 50,000 on this line. So, it won't be hard to get back up there with a little momentum higher. And again, one news headline can get you there. I mean, look how quickly we've gone down, but don't forget, Bitcoin can do the exact opposite and start going up. And remember, we're going into a seasonally good time, October, November, December. So we'll just have to wait and see, what comes. But remember what I was saying about being a long-term thinker. This is for those of you that haven't seen this is the monthly chart on Bitcoin. And, I'm still optimistic that we're going to see some pretty good moves higher. Again, seasonally, I think we're coming into the right time. We had the mid-cycle dip in May, June, and we've held this dotted line here. We've held it thus far, even in September. So here's the funny part. The problem that I have with some of my colleagues in YouTube is that they're looking at such short time frames that they're just totally missing the big picture. When in doubt, zoom out. So if you look at where we are right now on Bitcoin, it's around 43,700. In the month of August, the close at the end of the month was 47,000. And when we opened, this is the more important part. When we opened the month, we were at 41,489. We are higher than that number right now. So assuming that September closes above 41,489, we would put in a higher low, because we finished higher for the month. That would be a win, even though September was ugly thus far, 10 days ago. So if you zoom out today, as ugly as it is, we're down 7.5% so far today and climbing, thank God. You're gonna see that a day like today has happened so many times in the history of Bitcoin, but when you just zoom out, be like Michael Saylor, you're gonna probably see that everything had worked out. If you don't get so caught up in, I have to trade this, I have to be in and I have to be out, and I have to, just try to make it every single day. Because that's not going to generally be a winning strategy. So just to summarize, for those of you that are considering entering, if it was me, I'd be waiting for RSI to get more into an oversold condition, somewhere around 30. It would be great if we can get down there. If not, we're looking for a repair of this diagonal trend line. And again, that would mean we get above it and maybe we retest and then we go. Most people that I know they're probably going to take the breakout because, again, sometimes crypto does not retest. It's a little unique in that capacity. So that would be the first thing. On the downside, if we break through these go zones, keep your eye on this diagonal down here. And again, this is probably the most important go zone that we will find until we break it, and that would be probably a very strong, exit. Like, for example, if you're in leverage way down in the 30,000 range or lower, this is probably the most important line for you to consider exiting, because again, it goes all the way back to the all-time highs. And if we were to break above this line, and I understand why some people are taking leverage, that would probably be a green light that your leverage play worked out, and so from then on, you're just playing with house money. So again, I don't know why people took this triangle breakout on leverage. I mean, I agree that we probably should have trended higher, but it's not a high probability trade when you're in the middle of a horizontal range between 42 and 51. Break above or below those zones, that's where the action's going to be. All right. Bitcoin dominance, still super important. Let me start with the lower time frame. So we've got a breakout, which would be good for Bitcoin, bad for alts, or if this is the beginning of a bear market, it's bad for everything. So, hard to know exactly where we're going to see that move. There could be, again, this could be a fake out. So maybe we come back down and we just keep going lower. That would be a great scenario for everything. Or we start making, again, the W that I've talked about so many times. So again, watch my prior videos, but something like that. And then we go up, like that. That would be one scenario. And so we've broken this no zone. And so again, for those of you looking at Bitcoin, there's an argument that Bitcoin is going to have higher returns the higher that this thing goes, unless we're in a bear market and then everything's going down, but Bitcoin's probably going down less than all the altcoins. So why do I say that? Well, and again, this orange line is the same line we were just looking at. It's just not candles anymore. But the reason that I say that is we've got, again, that W looking formation possibly occurring. If we come back underneath here, that would be super bullish for altcoins. But in the past, again, you had this sort of W, and then this entire period was a bear market for everything. Everything went down. So if that's beginning, then, unfortunately, the entire crypto market cap is going to likely decline. But if we just have a little bit of a move up, maybe back into the 50 range on Bitcoin dominance, not 50,000, but 50 on Bitcoin dominance, and then we rolled over, again, there'd be another altcoin season coming. And I still believe that would be the base case. But you need to be aware of all cases. This could just start taking off, and we could literally be at the end of a bull market and entering a bear market. I don't buy it yet because we haven't really had a blow off top in Bitcoin. So, blow off top would be a candle like that where you get a big wick up. We didn't have one in the 13 market, but we had a huge move. So again, that's your blow off top. And we really just haven't, I mean, you can make an argument that was, but again, we're not at the top of a channel. I just don't see it in terms of a true blow off top. The way I see it, COVID was sort of the beginning of this bull market, and we've had, pretty good move up from that point, and we've now consolidated, and I think we're going to go up to that level, again, somewhere in the 160 to 200 range. would be where I think things are going to go in my base case. And I just don't think we're there yet. There's the possibility that this could roll over, and that would be the end of this bull market. But I don't see any blow off tops to the degree that the past has been. But price is the best indicator, so we'll just have to keep watching it. But Bitcoin dominance right now, again, if you were looking to acquire Bitcoin, this was your area. You can see a lot of sweeping down here, and now we're starting to move up. But again, everything's getting wrecked today, and that's part of what I've said in prior videos, that even though Bitcoin dominance is on the rise, Bitcoin's going down. So that's why you can't just look at Bitcoin dominance and think, oh, now's the right time to buy Bitcoin. I think you have to look at, are we entering a bear market? And if so, a day like today is going to sort of show you what can happen when things go in the wrong direction. And that leads over to ETH. So, basically same thing. We're in sort of no man's land in the RSI, relative strength. We did come down and sweep underneath 3,000. So again, I mentioned stink bids. That would be your stink bid area, and definitely there was a lot of activity going on in there earlier today. So same thing as Bitcoin. We're looking for a breakout of this repair line. That would be the major no zone that gets flipped into going. I would guess it's gonna probably come into a range down here, and we'll just keep consolidating until maybe the end of the month, and then hopefully we'll break out. So what I would be looking for to enter is an RSI under 30 or around there. So maybe we get some consolidation over the rest of the month, maybe a few more sweeps down here, and then hopefully a breakout. And then hopefully that would be a signal that we're going to finally run back up to these lines. This isn't the all-time high, but this line is off of the all-time high. So we've already tested it once. And one of the things, this is like a masterclass tip. One of the things that I like to look for when we get up to those lines, that's usually for the people that were entering way lower. That's usually their first exit, which is exactly what happened. And usually on the second or the third, you get a breakout. And so now that doesn't happen every time. Sometimes you just go right through it. But that's what's happened in Bitcoin and Ethereum on this particular part of the run. So I would definitely be looking on the next attempt up to this level, if we get there, for a nice move. And then on the low end, if we break under like 2,900 on Ethereum, I would be a little worried, because again, there's going to be a lot of air going back down. I mean, we can draw some lines in here, but this would be a major break. That would signal something is wrong with Ethereum. But I would expect Ethereum probably by the end of the day closing in on 3,200, which is where some of the action was. And if not, it's probably going to be back in, like 3,100. I don't think it's going to stay underneath that 3,000 level for very long. And we might get a few more sweeps. So again, for those of you looking to accumulate, if it was me, I'd be looking at RSI going under into what we call oversold. And then once it does that, that would be a good confirmation that we're probably bottoming. It doesn't mean we've hit the bottom. It just means we're probably in a bottoming process, and we're going to start rolling back up. So again, repair line would be this no zone line at this point. That'd be your first line of repair. And then you want to see us stay above, around 3,000, 2,900 to 3,000. And that would, again, signal that we're probably bottoming and moving back up. So we're going to find out in the next probably 10, 15 days where this is all headed. Because if we don't break this and then we fall under these two, we're definitely rolling back down, and that would not be good. Again, when in doubt, zoom out. I can't say it enough. Can't stand a lot of people that are like trying to day trade this thing, because again, the RSI on the high level still looks fine. As ugly as today is, you can see that we've held, let me make this bigger. You know, we're holding this diagonal trend line. You can draw trend lines on anything. You know, you just have to understand how they operate. And so we've held that line from the December low of 2019, and we bounced off of it in July. I made some pretty big moves back in July, where I swapped out a lot of my Bitcoin for Ethereum, because I was noticing that we were holding this line and we were pretty oversold in that time period on lower time frames. So, you know, like 2 hour, 4 hour, etc. Again, how do I use the shorter time frames? I want them to confirm the larger ones. So again, if you see that we're holding a major trend line, and then you were to go into a 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, 8 hour, and they're confirming with oversold. So again, you're going to want to see RSI under like 30 in a 2 hour time frame or 4 hour. That tells you that there's an opportunity to acquire, assuming that we're holding this line. And so that's what I did. Not advice of any type, but it's something that worked out at this point, because I think Ethereum had more upside than Bitcoin for this particular bull market, because it was not as strong as Bitcoin in the first half of it. So again, just to sort of explain that, we broke this mid channel back in December of 2020. So for this whole year, up until we started rolling back down, we were actually above this midpoint. While Ethereum, you can see I've got two channels, but these dotted lines, if you can see them here in the middle, we never got up to those lines. We touched it once, and then we came back down into this red channel. And so basically, you've got, we're retesting the lower end of this red channel, and we're holding it thus far. You know, we never fell under it. We wicked under in those 2 months, but we've never gone fully under it. So to me, that just makes me feel like there's more upside, because we haven't gotten up to this midpoint. And so, you know, for me, I would want to maximize the return if all things are equal and Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to rise. And so, you know, having done that down in this level in July, I mean, even today, as ugly as it is, I want to go back to what I was saying with Bitcoin. At the open in August, we were at 2,534. As of right now, we're at 3,047. We're about 500 points higher on Ethereum, even though it's super ugly today. And so, as I was saying, when in doubt, zoom out, because if you look at the history of Ethereum, you can see the general trend has been up. And I would expect, unlike some of our Twitter people, and you know, again, it just irks me when you see people making superhero calls when the charts just aren't really suggesting that the action is where it should be at this point. So like, you know, there's one particular person that made a lot of videos this weekend. I'm sure many of you have seen them. And he thinks like the entire crypto market is going to be dead in roughly a month, like 30 days from now or less, or slightly more. And it might be. I mean, if I see a huge candle up into this sell zone area, I could probably agree with that. I mean, if you see candles like that, you can get there in 3 months. I mean, it can happen quickly. But where we are right now, I think we're just building up momentum, because we've traded in this range on Ethereum, like 1,400 up to 4,000. We've just sort of been in that range bound most of this year, and that's like this entire channel of that range right there. So, I just think we've got a ways to go. The mania phase has not happened yet. And a day like today just humbles you to remember that things take time. And if you're a position trader, you're looking for um, an acquisition point at a low and a disposition point at a high. That's the whole goal of a position trader. And so even though today hurts, I'm still expecting much higher. And I'll take it a step further. This is like life changing if you um, were to hodl. Hodl stands for hold on for dear life. So if you were forced to hodl because the market rolled over and everything was just bad again, probably in another 4 years, your position would look super pretty. Again, like if you think about where Ethereum was in the prior peak, it was only at about $1,000. Well, today it's 3,000. I mean, it's tripled from the prior all-time high back in 2017, 2018. So if you were forced to hodl, and again, let's assume Ethereum is a technology that works. I mean, that's the assumption. It's probably going to be up here somewhere in the future, no different than Bitcoin's chart. Again, not guaranteed. It could go to zero, but that's the part that I guess irritates me when I watch people day trade. And if all they did was hodl, they probably would be a much more successful trader. And so, what I'm trying to say is we don't know where things are going to go. I mean, nobody has a crystal ball, but to make a hero call that in 30 days, everything's going to be at all-time highs and that's the end of the cycle and we'll talk to you in 3 or 4 more years. I just don't think you're giving a market that is in the adoption phase, along with the amount of mania that is likely to come. And I do think it's probably going to be in the next, 3 to 9 months, maybe the end of this year into like May of next year. I think that's the sweet spot. And it could be October, it could be in a month, but you need to see candles starting to go like this, and we're just not seeing that. And if you ask me, I think the institutions are purposely keeping the price under wraps, knowing that they're trying to accumulate all that they can because, when the genie comes out, this thing's going to the moon, assuming, again, the technology is accurate and sufficient. And so, I just think you may want to turn off some of the people that are trying to make hero calls at this exact moment, or they're telling you they're going 10x leverage, because at the end of the day, nobody knows what's going to happen. And what I always try to go back to is price. I only watch the price action. It's why I said in some of my prior streams, I don't want to look at what happened in the past. And again, I use it as a reference point, like I'm showing you right now. But right exactly at this moment in time, the price action, even though it's down for the month, it's still higher than it was the prior month. I mean, that's positive price action. And there's 10 days to go. I mean, we could have a rally into the end of the month. It's possible. We may do nothing. But I don't see any reason to get on red alert just because today, in a month that has historically been terrible, we're having a bad day. I mean, I said it at the beginning of the month. This is probably going to be a tough month, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe right now we're talking about the potential low for the month and we're just going to start rallying, and then all the momentum shifts, all the news shifts, and everything goes positive, and then you start having candles like this. So let's take a breath, not make hero calls, not take on leverage, just hit your singles and everything's going to be fine. And on that topic, S&P 500, I did get stopped out this morning. My stop zone was right there. And here's a trade that didn't go right. There's an exact situation of where people get things wrong. And I'd rather be able to illustrate where things can go right and wrong, because on my crypto trades, I'm way up. I don't even have to worry about it. But on the this S&P trade, which again, it was a tiny amount of my position, but I like the S&P. I mean, it's 500 companies that I think all of us would like to own if we're looking at diversification and profitability long term. And so I'll have to double check, but I believe I got stopped out this morning, and I'm not exactly sure where this thing opened. So because we were in the middle of this stream, so we'll have to see if I got stopped out, but it definitely touched the stop zone. So we'll see. I can't remember if I was slightly under or not. So in a trade like this, remember we got in around 44.50. Sorry, it was on this day. First day was pretty good. We were retesting the main horizontal trend line, and then we broke under it. And I think I said in my Thursday stream last week, if tomorrow was bad, then we're probably going to be exiting this probably on Monday, because, and again, go back and watch that. I'm pretty sure I said that. And so that's exactly what happened. And so first thing's going to be getting through this repair line. And again, maybe we consolidate. But remember, this channel is super long. It goes all the way back to COVID. So this is sort of a very important point. If you have a lot of money invested in the market, in a 401k or any other type of vehicle, you need to really keep your eye on this, because if we break this stop zone, we may be rolling over, and this may be a much larger drop in the S&P, because we've basically gone up for a long time. If you ask me what do I think is going to happen, and I don't have a crystal ball, but we are approaching the oversold condition, which tells me there's probably some buying momentum that's going to come in over the next couple of weeks. I think you're going to have some central bank money printing coming out. We've got the debt ceiling at the end of this month. We've got the China situation with Evergrande. And again, if you don't know what's going on there, they're one of their largest lending providers, basically defaulted, to put it nicely. So if you remember the 2008 crash, there's been a lot of news publications saying that this is their Lehman moment, Lehman Brothers, where the leverage and just all the money going into the system has collapsed. And so I would suspect China is probably about to make an announcement that says they're printing an absurd amount of money. And basically, that's going to be something that they're keeping an eye on, so that they don't lose their monetary system. LJ Crypto, I apologize. I just saw you in here, so welcome. Let me read some of your comments here. Tight stop loss. I like that. My stop loss was about 5% off of the low there. So I don't know if it was tight. Tight to me is 1 to 2%, but I think definitely possible that depending on how aggressive or conservative you are, that may be one area. And as far as the China issue, I think you're right. I think that the market seems to be accepting it, given that we've bounced thus far, but it's just too early. I think that's the hard part, is we don't know what's the next headline? So for example, does China say they're not going to print any money and I don't know, you have like a Lehman collapse that is not being caught up by oh, sorry, I apologize. You're saying that was for crypto. Um well, all right, we'll come back to that in just a second then. So if you look at with China right now, if they don't print, and I would be shocked if they didn't, you're going to have what happened here in the United States about 12, 13 years ago, where the government stepped in, and you may remember the word TARP, or I think it was TALF. There were lines of operational credit that were pumped into the system to save it. Otherwise, like everything would have collapsed. And I don't think China's going to let that happen. I don't. So we'll just have to keep an eye on the market. But if the market starts to roll over here underneath my stop zone, I mean, watch out. We could have a flash type of crash if things really get rolling. So that LJ says, I remember very well. Yeah, me too. So that's probably going to be a key thing to watch over the next couple of days. So let's just reiterate. We've got an interesting little chart here, pattern, and basically what we're looking at is potentially a W. So we could get that. That would be awesome. And for the crypto market, that would be super awesome, because now you have the equity markets confirming the crypto market most likely will follow, probably lead in most cases. But then, when you look at if this rolls over, I mean, it could be like a COVID type of shock where whatever the next headline is, it just crashes everything. And unfortunately, everything liquefies at that point. So like everybody races for the exit, and then, we're in big trouble. I personally think the world governments will step in, whatever the headline is, because they can print a lot more money than you and I can fathom. And if you don't believe that, just look at the U.S. central bank's balance sheet over the last 12 months. They printed, if I remember correctly, I think it's 40% of all the money supply they've ever printed, ever. So, that's something just to keep your eye on. But it's a tough day. Don't get me wrong. For those of you that were trading like for the last week, I think it's probably a tough day. But if you start looking at zooming out, and LJ, I don't know how long you've been trading crypto, but if you look at okay, well, LJ's saying I follow those metrics. So I think what LJ's saying is probably in line with what I'm saying, which is zoom out and keep your eye more on the long-term prize, because this is life-changing stuff. I mean, the thing that I always say, and you can see it right behind me, is changing lives one block at a time. Every 10 minutes, you've got a new block of crypto coming out of Bitcoin. And so there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin ever created. And the minute that they're gone forever. And the only way you can get one is by purchasing from somebody else. And those people, unless they have liquidity issues, they're probably going to demand higher prices. So as I always say, be like Michael Saylor, when in doubt, zoom out. And you're likely going to see, if I could go into the future, it'll be fun to go back to these videos, that if we are within this correct channel, then we're likely looking at much higher levels going into the future. I don't know what it's going to take to spark, that type of move, but it's going to have to be more money coming in. And I think as like everybody wakes up to the amount of money being printed, the volatility of owning other assets that are probably, again, if you think about real estate, like 10, 15 years ago, in 2006 and 7, we had a global real estate crisis where prices went down 50, 60% from the highs. Now they've recovered, but imagine, every asset class, stocks, real estate, gold, all of it goes up and down. And I think as more and more people are introduced to the crypto space, they're going to be able to have an asset that trades 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I think Michael Saylor had a tweet that like 99 point something percent of the time, the network has been active. Um, and basically we're looking at a little bit into the future. This may be a multi-trillion-dollar market, and it could be even as soon as the end of this year if people start piling in to this asset class. Let me go through just a few other items. You've got number one is you've got potentially a gold-like reserve asset, and if that's the case, that's a $10 trillion asset right now, gold. If you monetize that, that's about a $500,000 price tag on Bitcoin. And then, I've told you about Cathie Wood, the ARK Invest leader of that company. She's been on the record saying if you took the S&P 500 companies, 10% of their balance sheet, that too is about a $500,000 price tag for Bitcoin. So if 499 more companies do what Tesla did and put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, now we're talking plus or minus like $1 million price tag for Bitcoin if it becomes comparable as a reserve asset to gold, and then it also were to be acquired by the 500 largest companies in the world. That doesn't include retail investment. We all know there's an ETF coming. I don't think it's going to be this cycle. Gary Gensler, who's the SEC chairman, he's basically been on the record saying he's comfortable putting it into the CME, like in a futures ETF, but that's not the full retail. And again, to trade futures, you generally have to be a qualified investor. Normally, you have to have like a $2 million investable asset, value, and then sometimes you have to have like $10 million of assets, or just depends on the brokerage house you're working with. But it's not easy for a retail investor to get in there. So I don't think they're going to unlock that genie until the next cycle. I don't. But the demand's going to be there as Bitcoin becomes more popular. And you look at what the future will hold when the populations of the world demand access. And it will be politically unpopular if the majority of the voters in any country are not able to access that type of asset while the rest of the world is. And it'll just be like political, you'll just be crushed politically if you don't allow the people what they're demanding. And maybe in communist countries, it'll be harder. China has been unable to, collect popularity from the people because, it's a communistic like country. But there's a lot of people that are still mining there. LJ Crypto said the futures are coming, and that's why price is being manipulated so the big money can get in. You can see this on chain. And so what he's saying there is when you look at the on-chain metrics, like Glassnode, or if you want to follow somebody like Willy Woo, or Will Clemente, they do a lot of on-chain metrics. Basically, if you look at what's going to be coming in, and that's what I was just saying a minute ago, the institutional demand is coming. And that's, in my opinion, why I think they're keeping price low. It's being done in a manipulative way, and it's probably being done on purpose. But there's going to be so much money that eventually will enter the space. It's going to be hard for institutions to be able to control it. And, right now, Bitcoin being almost, it was a few weeks back, almost $1 trillion asset again. Imagine when it's like 10 or 20 trillion, it's going to be hard for like a billionaire to come in and just sort of, shake their weight around. It's just going to be tough. So yeah, I mean, it's still a relatively new technology, but the adoption is coming. It grows every halving cycle, and I think as long as that adoption curve continues, we're going to probably see 4 or 5 years from now a much larger asset class. And so LJ, I think you're right on that. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up. I will, because LJ, I see you're here. I will leave a minute if you have any questions. Happy to try to answer anything. I've got another maybe 5 minutes or so. But yeah, he's saying the whales will still be there with big bags, and I think that's absolutely correct. A whale, a Bitcoin whale, generally is somebody that, depending on which metric you look at, sometimes they say it's somebody with $100 Bitcoin. Most of the time, it's somebody that has 1,000 or more Bitcoin. That's what a Bitcoin whale is, and I think that's going to be completely true. As more and more people, the thing about the 21 million is that if theoretically, and I've seen stats on this, there's about 50 million millionaires in the world. So, combine people, 50 million out of like 8 billion. And there's only 21 million Bitcoin. There's like almost 19 million right now, but over the next 120 years, there will be 21 million minted. So the majority of the supply is already here. So if you look at what the Bitcoin whales, there can't be so many more because it's going to be hard to get 1,000 Bitcoin. So I agree that the whales will always be around and they can move, but as the asset class grows, I mean, 1,000 Bitcoin, when it's like $1 million a coin, is going to have less weight as a percentage of the total market cap. And again, if there's like 19 million in supply, if you were to sell your 1,000 when it's, a couple $1 million a coin, that it's going to move the market, but it's not going to make the impact that it's making today. I think that's going to be something that will change in time. But for right now, LJ, you're totally right. It's going to be something that they'll be able to move as the market cap remains anywhere around $1 trillion. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you here today, LJ. Just as a reminder, we go live most weekdays, Monday through Friday, around 9 a.m. Eastern time, and look forward to seeing you and others in the future. This is Captain Crypto. Thank you for your time today. Hope this information has been helpful. Be safe. We'll talk tomorrow. Thank you.